Hi everybody, this is Todd Creager. What I do is I help couples rekindle passion. I also help couples heal from infidelity and other kinds of crises. And I also help individuals get out of toxic relationships and help prepare them so that they attract nurturing relationships that are full of mutual love, which we all deserve. Today's video is more about this last thing. It really is about a client, a female client I treated, who it was a successful case where she was able to escape a gaslighting relationship, which I will define, and reclaim her true self and her life back, which is very important. Now, a gaslighting relationship is one where you're with a gaslighter, and a gaslighter, as I talked about in my most previous video, is a person who makes you feel like there's something wrong with you, who makes you feel like you're bad or you're crazy. So, and the purpose of that, like I said, is so that the gaslighter doesn't have to face his or her own pain, doesn't have to grow up, can stay in one's comfort zone. And so this is a woman who came from a family where there was a lot of chaos in this family. There was a lot of emotional abuse and family violence all around her, and people normalized it. And so she grew up with this family where crazy things would happen, and if she made a comment like, isn't this crazy or isn't this bad, the response from her mother and her grandmother, there wasn't a father around, the mother and the grandmother would be like, what's the problem? This is what we got to deal with. Oh, it'll get better. And so she learned to tolerate. It's almost like her nervous system became a little bit numb to this kind of experience. So what happens to a person like this? Like so many of us, the patterns we grow up with in our family, we recreate them in our adult relationships. So she finds a man who they fall for each other, but he turns out to be someone who is very narcissistic, very self-absorbed, and it's all about him. And he could be very manipulative. He was abusive, not physically, but definitely mentally. And anytime that she would say something on her behalf that might disappoint him, she did some of the things that I talked about in the previous video that would lead her to feel anxiety and shame. And so she would back up. And so also, along with that, as you see, I mean, for her, chaos and abuse was kind of what she knew. And also, in her family of origin, the other big thing was that she had to regulate her mother and her mother's emotions. And even though she, as a young child, should have been the one who was regulated, she should have been one that should have been tuned into. It became like reverse parenting that happens a lot, and she was taking care of her mother. And so she anytime she was upset, her mother would get more upset. So she'd forget about her and take care of her mother in this chaotic situation. So likewise, this man, her job in her own mind was to make sure that he was okay, and she would regulate him. And the other aspect of it is when there's a terrible situation going on, you just don't leave. That's what she learned. You don't leave, and basically you can't leave, because if you leave, other people will be more upset, and it's my job to make sure you're not upset. So again, coming from the family of origin to the current relationship, if I leave that person, he's going to be upset, and believe me, he reminded her how devastated he'd be and how he might not be able to survive, or who knows what I'll do, as he said, which could mean anything from suicidal or homicidal, you never know, but it's left the person with a feeling of, I can't leave this person because it might cause this person harm, and I can't do that. And maybe it'll cause me harm. I can't do that. So I'm not free to take care of myself, just like in the family of origin. So that's the story. So she comes to see me, and we started to talk about these things because she just came in upset about her relationship. And when we started to talk about her family of origin, she was able to start to connect the dots between, oh, this is that wounded child part of me, and then this man evokes this wounded child part of me, and I keep coming from that part of me that has to take care of mommy, in this case, boyfriend, but I am not free to take care of me. So through the therapy, she started to make those connections, which was a beginning of being liberated. Now, the other thing I did with her was eye movement desensitization and reprocessing, something I've talked about in some previous blogs and articles and videos. And that is, the short for that is EMDR, eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. And it's a trauma approach that helps people go to those negative memories, those traumatic memories of the past, and helps this person process them, desensitize to them, reprocess them. So we started doing that. And within just a few sessions of that, she started to say, I need to find a place to live. So she started looking for apartments, but she wasn't committed to it yet, but she was starting to. And she mentioned to her boyfriend in a moment of strength that, you know, this relationship isn't working for me, so I'm starting to look for other apartments. Well, this person, he vacillated between, as gaslighters could do, being very accusatory and saying how selfish she was, and after all I've done for you, and he had done some things. You know, gaslighters could take truth and mix it in with falsehoods, which makes it very confusing to this person who is loving and flexible and overly adaptive. But he also would then oftentimes treat her really, really well, which would lead for her to go, maybe I'm being too hard on him. So we did some more EMDR, lots of it actually, over the next few months. And we talked about other things too, but we surely stuck to the process, eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. Again, you can read about it from my blogs and Google it and see how that works. But she started to get more and more of an installation of a positive belief. The negative belief was, I don't deserve happiness, things like that, I'm not good enough. The positive belief was, I'm worthy, I deserve happiness. I could leave a bad situation. I'm free to leave. And we were able to work with that in her past situations, and then we also addressed it in the present. So she was able to experience it with her current boyfriend, this sense of leaving, even though she hadn't fully left yet. It wasn't too long after that that she signed the lease. And believe me, when she signed that lease and she told her boyfriend, his gaslighting was at its best. But she had developed enough immunities to deal with that virus, you know? And she is now on her own, healing, continuing to heal, open to new situations, new relationships, but not quite yet, because it's actually been pretty recent. And she's free, and she's experiencing her true self. She knows what it's like to go to bed at night thinking, I can think of me. I don't have to think about him and forget about me. Very, very powerful. Very, very psychologically and physically healing as well, because of less stress. So if this resonates with you in any way, if this story resonates, if you wish to have that, it's possible for you. Of course, someone like me, I could work with you in my office. I could work with you virtually via computer if you're not geographically close. EMDR, I only could work with in the office, but I have connections elsewhere, and there's a lot we could do outside of EMDR. But my main message to you is you're free. You are free to leave. There are other opportunities out there, and you just need to develop that support system to help you out. Maybe a support system you didn't have growing up. So I wish you the best, and there's room for optimism. This is Todd Creager, making the world safe for love.